My name is Pat Ford. I'm Executive Director of the Save Our Wild Salmon Coalition. When we formed our coalition in 1992, a coalition of sport fishers, commercial fishers, conservationists, fishing businesses, we knew that salmon in the Columbia Snake Basin were important to people in Puget Sound, primarily because of the fishing fleet in Puget Sound that was here. But we didn't really know at that time that they were also important to Puget Sound's orcas, because the science wasn't really developed that made that connection. One of the main scientists that we have heard this new scientific information from, and that many people are familiar with as well in Puget Sound, is Ken Balcom. Ken is the individual who tracks the orcas and delivers the census counts each year. How many of them are there? How many have died? How many are being born? What's the number?
My name is Ken Balcom. I'm the senior scientist of the Center for Whale Research. Southern resident killer whales are the native top predator in this ecosystem, and they've probably historically been as high as 300 prior to European arrival. Currently we have about 87 southern resident killer whales in the Puget Sound environs. In the broad sense, these whales are facing a decaying, diminishing ecosystem. In this area, the most abundant and reliable food supply historically through their many generations has been Chinook salmon primarily. And as that food base declines, the population's survival declines. So we're looking at no fish and therefore no killer whales.
The Save Our Wild Salmon Coalition seeks to restore wild salmon in abundance to the rivers and streams of the Northwest for use by people and by the ecosystems. We focus most of our attention on the Columbia and Snake River Basin because it was once the most productive salmon watershed on Earth and could again produce large numbers of salmon if its difficult problems could be partly solved. The primary thing that kills salmon in the Columbia and Snake Basin is the system of dams on those rivers. Many dams just block salmon entirely. Grand Coulee Dam on the Columbia is an example of that. Other dams salmon can pass through. The cumulative mortality from 8 dams to the little salmon going to the ocean and to the big salmon coming back make Snake River salmon particularly endangered among all the endangered salmon in the region. Since 1995, our organization has focused on how can we improve survival through the hydroelectric system in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, through the dams and reservoirs. In the Columbia part of the system, we decided, based on what scientists were telling us, that the large dams in the Columbia did not have to be removed to restore salmon, that you could improve water flows in the river and you could provide spill over the tops of the dams so the little fish could drop with that water down to the reservoir and then move on down to the ocean. An awful lot of the Chinook habitat in the Columbia is now gone, but in the Snake, most of that spawning and rearing habitat is still there waiting for salmon, and it is by far the biggest bang for the buck of getting large numbers of wild salmon back into the Columbia Snake Basin. So our coalition decided we were going to have to, as a matter of science, seek removal of the 4 lower snake dams. I don't think the people in Puget Sound ever quite realize that the fate of the orcas that they want to see and that they want their children to be able to see have a connection to what is done with rivers and streams and fish way up in Idaho. You have to have health in salmon to have health in orcas. And I think that's a real important connection to make, not just for the creatures, but for people. It shows us that we are part of one thing, and we have to work together in order to restore salmon so that orcas can be restored, so that our lives and our children's lives can be what we want them to be.